Perfect. Okay, so this is the agenda for this morning. I'm going to start with a brief overview of the Clean Marina program, go through the certification process, and then I'm going to highlight a few pertinent permit and regulations. And then I will be giving some examples of BMPs, and then we'll end with a question and answer session. Okay, so what is the Wisconsin Clean Marina program? So the Clean Marina program, it's a voluntary certification program that prevents boating pollution and improves water quality through the adoption of best management practices, which we refer to as BMPs. In addition, the program offers guidance and technical assistance on these BMPs to help prevent and reduce pollution. It's important to note that we are not a regulatory body, but we really help bridge that gap between the DNR agencies and the boating industry. And then in addition, we recognize those participants who are meeting the BMPs and for their environmental stewardship. Okay, so why become a Wisconsin Clean Marina? So the top reasons for becoming a clean marina are: one, clean lakes and rivers are good for business. Boaters really care about the water resources. Two, it creates a safer and healthier place to work and recreate. Third, becoming a clean marina can really enhance your image among boaters and your community. And last, becoming a clean marina, it prevents pollution and the spread of aquatic invasive species. So why should we care? Why do I work with marinas? Well, since marinas are located right on the waterway, they really act as a final defense before water and pollution enters the waterways. So there's really a lot of opportunities to really make an impact through implementing these best management practices. Okay, so I just wanted to put this map up to show that we are not alone. The states that are in blue, these are all states that have a clean marina program. They're all a little different, but they all have the same goals. So they're mainly located on the coast as well as along the Great Lakes. Okay, so in Wisconsin, where are our clean marinas? Well, currently we have 26 certified clean marinas. They're located, they're on blue on the map, and we have 19 pledged there in yellow. So if you don't see yourself on the map, please reach out to me and we can get you pledged. Okay, so what are the steps of becoming a clean marina? Well, step one is to contact me and then sign a pledge. So signing a pledge, it starts the process. There's no time requirement to become certified. Some marinas take years, some do it in one season. So it's up to your facility and your time. So after, then the third step would be doing a self-evaluation using our Clean Marina checklist, which is available on our website. If you are a recertification, a preliminary visit is not necessary unless you want me to come and go through it with you. If you're a new certification, we would schedule a preliminary visit either in person or it could be virtual. And then we would go through the checklist, and it would really show you which practices you're meeting and which ones you would still need for certification. And again, if you're a recertification, I would send you your previous checklist and we would review that together. So then step 5, you would incorporate the best management practices, recommendations, and then we would conduct the final site visit. So the final site visit, it must occur during the boating season, which is typically May through October, so we can see the practices in place. And then the final site visit is typically myself and then 1 to 2 members of our Clean Marina tech team. Then our Clean Marina tech team, they also approve all the certifications. So once approved, we would say, welcome aboard, and you would get to enjoy the certification amenities, which is you would get a Clean Marina certification sign, which you can see in the photo. You get a certificate, you get a small Burgee flag, window clings. We put out a press release as well as announce it on our social media. So recertification, it is good for 5 years, and then you need to go through the process again, which does require another in-person site visit. And then in addition, since 5 years is a pretty long term, is a pretty long time, halfway through that term, I'll send you a midterm affirmation form that you would fill out and sign. And it basically just affirms that you're meeting all the practices, and you would let us know if you have any new BMPs in place and any changes in staff. So one new update, one positive update is previously to get certified and recertified, there was a fee involved, and our board just voted to end the fee. So starting this season, there's no longer a fee for certification or recertification. Okay, I just wanted to put up the pledge form. This is what the pledge form looks like. It is available on our website. And again, it just starts the process. There's no time frame. And once you become a pledge, we announce that on our social media, and then you would be included on the map as well. And then you would also be able to get technical assistance and resources from the program as well. Okay, so next I just want to acknowledge our Clean Marina tech team. I really couldn't do what I do without this group. They provide guidance, technical assistance, assist with site visits, and as well as approve all of our certifications and recertifications. Okay. So this is, I just want to talk about the certification checklist. So this was updated in 2022. So for those of you who are recertifying, this has been updated. There's 10 different categories. They correspond to the guidebook chapters. So for example, this photo shows chapter 2, which is the marina maintenance chapter. And then you need to become certified, we have these different, there's different status. So you see the blues, the greens, the Ps. So we have the green, blues, and yellow. So we have these MPs and Rs. So Ms are mandatory practices. So these are laws, permits, regulations. So these are, you have to meet 100% of these. And these are all things you should be meeting regardless if you're in the Clean Marina program or not. And then the remaining practices are Ps and Rs. So the Ps are program required. So these are things that our Clean Marina tech team and our program decided all clean marinas need to meet. So you need to meet 100% of those. And then the remaining practices are recommended, and they're the ones in green. And you have to meet 50% of those to get certified. Okay, so I just want to kind of talk about regulations. So marinas are subject to a lot of federal and state requirements. So I just thought I would throw up this aerial view of a marina, and then just kind of highlight that of all the different regs that apply to a marina. So you have dredging, you have maintenance regulations, painting regulations, stormwater permits, sewage regulations, boat washing regulations, hazardous waste, storage and disposal, fueling requirements, as well as storage tanks. So it's a lot to keep track of, and it can be overwhelming, but I was going to just go through 3 key regulations that I tend to have to assist our clean marinas with, or becoming a clean marina. So again, we are not regulatory, but we're really here to bridge that gap and provide technical assistance. So the first one I want to talk about is the stormwater permit. So who needs a permit? So we had been working with the DNR to really have statewide consistency. So essentially, if your facility has boat washing or maintenance areas, that's what triggers a stormwater permit. So if you do not have boat washing or maintenance areas, you will not be required to have a stormwater permit. If you do have boat washing or maintenance areas, you will need either a tier 2 stormwater permit, or you could apply for an NEC, which is the no exposure certification. And if you do not need a permit, our Clean Marina program still requires that you submit a stormwater information map. And I'll be talking about that and providing an example later in this presentation. Okay, so for the stormwater permit, to apply for that, you must use the online e-permitting system. This is through the DNR. You register for My Wisconsin ID, and then you complete the application process. through the e-permitting system. You can pay fees, track status, and then if you need a permit, you're also required to submit the stormwater pollution prevention plan. Okay, so this is what the water applications e-permitting system page looks like. So you would register if you do not already have a My Wisconsin ID, and then you would click begin to log in and start your application or edit an existing application. And you can also, track the status as well. Okay, so another permit that I want to talk about is the low impact discharge general permit. This is also from the DNR. So this is if you do boat washing at your facility. So this replaced the outside washing general permit that was discontinued in 2020. So this permit is needed if boat washing occurs at your facility, regardless if the marina or the boat owners are the one washing their boats. So if there's no boat washing, you do not need a permit. If boat washing occurs, but if your boat wash water, if it goes through a system that goes to the wastewater treatment plant, you do not need a permit. Otherwise, you will need a low impact discharge permit. Okay. So again, you would use that same online e-permitting system. You would register for the My Wisconsin ID. You would fill out the notice of intent, which is the NOI. And then you also need a best management practice plan, which you would attach to your application. And then you would sign and submit that. And then I just wanted to show, this is what the best management plan looks like. It's just kind of talking about what kind of treatment practices you'll put in place, the good housekeeping practices, your maintenance plan, etc. But I just want to highlight that we are here to help you do this. I've sat down with some of our marinas and we filled it out together. I can provide you with samples and I can help you do this if you're unsure how to fill this out. And we're here to answer any questions and put you in contact with the right contacts at the DNR as well. Okay, so the last regulation that I want to discuss is the pesticide applicator license. So this applies to marinas who paint boats. So if you paint boats at your facility, you need a pesticide applicator license as well as a business license. The person who paints the boats needs to get certified. You select what category. It's 5.1. It's the anti-following paints. They have to pass a test. It can either be in person or through the computer. This is a link. I think Annabelle will be putting it in the chat as well to get the training materials and sign up for the test. I also have the link to DATCAP. So this pesticide applicator license is through DATCAP, and it talks about how to become licensed. The applicator certification is good for 5 years. The business license you just renew annually. So I'm just gonna pause right now. If you guys have any questions, you can raise your hand about the regulations or put in the chat and I can address them right now. Otherwise, we'll also do a Q&A at the end. Okay, any questions, Annabelle? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Okay, so next I'm going to give some examples from our guidebook. So the guidebook is available on our website. If you want a hard copy of one, we have hard copy binders. So just reach out to me and I can mail one to you or drop one off as well. Our guidebook was updated in 2022, as well as the checklist, which I mentioned. And then we also in the guidebook, we have the certification forms, we have the checklist, their sample plans, laws and regulations that apply to marinas, as well as some clean boater tip sheets as well. Okay, so I am now just going to give some examples from each of the chapters on the checklist. And I just want to note that all of the photos that I've been showing, all the photos that I'm going to show are from our Wisconsin Clean Marinas. So these are all very implementable practices, practices that our clean marinas are already doing. And again, if you have any questions, we are here to assist you. So the first section on the checklist is on marina maintenance. So these are things such as minimizing the impacts of dredging, adopting water conservation practices at your facility, as well as on the ground, such as putting in rain barrels, having environmentally friendly landscaping, like using native plants, minimizing the use of pesticides, as well as enhancing habitat. So this other photo is an example of some habitat that was preserved next to a marina. Okay, so the next section is stormwater management. So we talked about the stormwater permit. I'm just going to pause right here. It looks like we did have a question on the storm. It says, does the stormwater permit supersede the low impact discharge permit? No, you still need both. So if you're required to have a stormwater permit and you do boat washing, you still need the low impact discharge permit. That's a really good question. But yes, you actually do still need both. Okay, so talking about for stormwater. So if your facility does not need a stormwater permit or you qualified for the no exposure certification, we still require the stormwater information map. So it's just essentially a map of your facility, and then and so this is a really good example, but again, it can be hand drawn, it can be done on GIS. I've sat down with our marinas and helped fill them out. So essentially you have a map of your facility with the property boundaries, and then you would just put arrows in of where the surface water is running off. So the best way to do this is to go out when it's raining and see where the water is flowing. And then you would also highlight where there's storm drains, outfalls, and then locations if you have rain gardens. This marina, this is up on Lake Superior. They have some bioretention basins. And then you would also note where there's potential sources of contamination. Where's your fuel dock? Where's your maintenance areas? Where do you keep your dumpster? So this just really can provide some really important information. It can help guide your actions at your facility to reduce runoff pollution. And then it's really good. It's a really good resource to use to train your staff as well. But again, this is something we can help you with. Okay, so some other stormwater BMPs are just positioning your downspout. So they're draining to mulch or into your landscaping or gravel. Having rain barrels, which we had mentioned in the other one as well. So these are two good examples. Having grass buffers is a good example, as well as this is a bioretention basin with native plantings. These are really aesthetically pleasing as well as functional. And then good housekeeping. This is another really, key component of a stormwater BMP is really sweeping walkways, parking areas, boat maintenance areas frequently to really remove pollutants. This is a good example of them cleaning a bioswale after a rain event. And then stenciling your storm drain. So this is a really good educational and awareness practice. We can provide the stencils. And then I also wanted to note that springtime is a good time to go out and see if the paint needs to be refreshed as well. Okay, so the next chapter is on boat maintenance. So these are things on restricting your maintenance activities to a designated work area, providing environmental rules, either selling or using environmentally friendly cleaning products, and then boat washing and shrink wrap, which I am going to talk about in more detail. So for boat wash, so if you do boat washing, this is the high pressure washing kind of at the end of the season. It's important to implement practices in place. We already talked about the low impact discharge permit. So there's multiple ways, at least that's allowed in Wisconsin, to treat boat wash water. It's kind of like a spectrum. So on one end of the spectrum is, and one of the simplest ways is using hay bales. So this is a good example where they are directing the wash water into a grassy area, and then they have hay bales used to filter. These are two other examples of using hay bales. The example on the right is also using filter socks as well. So as we kind of move along the spectrum, another one is installing a closed loop like recycling system and reusing the wash water from power washing. So this marina installed a cement pad that's graded to capture water, and then it goes through this recycling system. And then another example is installing a wash pad with a catch basin. And so this one, when they're washing boats, the boat wash water goes to the wastewater treatment plant. Otherwise, the rainwater just goes to the bay. This is on the Bay of Green Bay. Okay, and then I just want to highlight shrink wrap recycling. So this is a required practice on our checklist, is to recycle shrink wrap. I know in some areas of the state, it can become more difficult to find recyclers. We have been working with the Council of the Great Lakes, their Circular Great Lakes initiative, on partnering with them to recycle shrink wrap. So there'll be a link in the chat with a interest form. And this is, no commitment. It just, they can contact you and help, and I'll be working with them too to help kind of figure out how to collect it. They do like the bag program, or they can arrange a dumpster depending on how many boats you have shrink wrapped. So otherwise, yeah, you can fill out the interest form, or you can contact me and I'll work with them as well. Okay, so the next section is on petroleum control. One of the main things is a spill kit. So all marinas need a spill kit, regardless if you don't have a fuel dock. So a lot of the marinas that I visit that don't have a fuel dock didn't always have a spill kit. So this is something you would need to have. If you do have a spill kit each year, it's a good idea to do an inventory and make sure you have that it's well stocked. One of the biggest things is you need to have enough boom to encircle the largest boat at your facility. So this is another image of a spill kit. So it's also important that the spill kit is labeled, and then having the emergency response numbers posted. So you can put up your own sign, or you can use the Coast Guard sticker, and I can help provide you with these as well. And then another petroleum best management practice is the use of absorbent fuel materials on the fuel dock. These work really well to stop the drips and the drops. This is an example of these fuel bibs. And again, we can provide you with these, or you can use absorbent sheets or pads or whatever works best at your facility. So the next section is on boater sewage, graywater, and animal waste handling. So one of the main ones is having a well-maintained pump out facility. And then there's graywater practices, which is encouraging eco-friendly detergents, providing laundry for your boaters, include something in your slip agreements to discourage discharge. And then there's practices to address, to control pet waste. Boaters love to boat with their dogs, so having an area that they can walk their dogs, providing them with cleanup bags, can be really effective. So then the next section is on solid waste management and recycling. So it's providing trash recycling receptacles. They should be covered, well labeled, convenient. Another practice on our checklist is having a fishing line recycling bin. I can provide you with these as well. We have a pretty decent supply. So this is to get, the fishing line, to not accumulate in your marina. And then additionally is posting signs what can and cannot be placed in the dumpster. And this example has what can't be placed in the dumpster and also what recyclables they collect. And then I guess another practice in the solid waste section is dealing with fish waste. So such as having a fish cleaning station or letting your boaters know how they should dispose of fish waste if you don't have a fish cleaning station, and maybe having some signage as well. Okay, so the next section is on hazardous waste management. So this is providing, recycling for waste oil, oil filters, antifreeze, batteries, and then proper containment as well. Okay, and then we have our marina management and boater education chapter. So this is about posting best management practice signs for your boaters, as well as providing environmental education materials such as rat cards. This is an example of one. And then I want to kind of highlight all of the clean marina materials that we can provide. So, boater education is a key component of the program. So we can provide you with lots of different materials. So if you're certified or a pledged marina, I send out an order form. I'll be sending that out in April, and you can order materials prior to the start of boating season. There's no charge for these materials. So we have, again, the fuel bibs, the rat cards. We have two different BMP signs. We have the storm drain stencils, as well as the fishing line bins. So if you're interested, you can order them. If you don't need them this year, that's fine as well. And then I either mail them or I drop them off, depending what materials you ordered. Okay, so in addition, in the marina management chapter, there's several practices listed on our checklist revolving paperwork. So having your emergency response plan, environmental rules. We will go through all of this during our site visit. And we really, recommend having like a clean marina binder. So I snapped this picture at a visit. This marina was extremely organized. They had, different sections for each of their permits, their inspection records, site map. And so it's a really easy way to update your plans each year and have everything handy. So you can be in a binder, it could be electronic, whatever works for your facility. So this is all the paperwork. And then another component is staff training. So it's important to document, maintain training records. So we require to have all of the staff sign off on training. You should probably conduct your training once a year. I think most marinas do it, when they hire new staff before boating season starts. It's really a nice way to it kind of protects you, make sure that your employees documented that they received the training. And so this was just I was at a visit, and it was a simple way that, they had what it was, and then every employee had to sign it, and then you just maintain those records. And so in our marina management chapter, we also have a few practices promoting clean and safe boating. So these would be, some community outreach practices, having a life jacket loaner station available for your boaters and their children, as well as having safety ladders as well. So these are either considered like a recommended practice, or they would be like an extra credit practice, but they're just a nice thing to consider. So the next chapter is on aquatic invasive species. So this is about educating your boaters with signage, maybe providing, rat cards on it, as well as having an area that they can rinse their boats and trailers to remove and to remove any aquatic invasive species. So the last chapter on our checklist and in our guidebook is on Marina Resilience. This was a new addition in our 2022 update. So it's just making sure your facility is prepared for the next storm, as well as changes in water levels. So the goal is really, if there was an event that happened, is to reduce the recovery and restoration time and get your marina into full operation. So we have this Marina Resilience assessment that we developed. It's available on our website. I have a link to it. It really is used to help determine your risk and vulnerability and identify any information gaps. So the assessment is broken into 4 categories: local and regional planning, emergency response planning, which includes things such as, evacuation plans for your facility, making sure your boaters know how to secure their boats, if there is an impending storm, facility planning, as well as financial planning, such as insurance. Okay, so that is all of the information, or that's a good overview of the BMPs that are on our checklist. I just want to highlight our Clean Marina website. So on our website, we have videos. We have videos on best management practices. We have testimonials, just videos like an overview of the program. We have the designated Clean Marina list, the map, as well as a lot of resources. So when I talked about some of the plans, like the stormwater plan, emergency response plan, there's also the SPCC plan. We have examples on our website and templates that can help you develop your own, as well as the pledge form, the checklist, the guidebook, and then we have all of our press releases on the website as well. And then I also just want to highlight that we have social media. We have a Facebook page and an Instagram page, and we use these to promote our marinas, promote the program, promote practices, clean boater practices as well. And then I just want to give an example. So this is an example of a post that was announcing a certification and a link to their press release. So we do this for all of our new certifications and recertifications. And then I just want to also highlight that the Wisconsin Marine Association does an annual conference in November every year, and we do a Clean Marina workshop. And then we also, at the banquet, we also announce all of our Clean Marina certifications and recertifications from the previous season as well. So you can kind of see their certificates and a sign. Okay, so I am gonna end there, and I would love to open it up to any questions. You can use the chat, you can raise your hand, and feel free to email me and contact me if you have other questions as well.